What I'm making right now is, with this chorizo, some jalapeños, garlic, all these peppers and onions that I just cut up, and I'm gonna be making a stuffing that's gonna go into a poblano chili that I've got roasting in the oven right now. So I need to kind of get this smashed up a bit and let it get some contact with the pan so it starts to break down and cook out some of that fat, because I need some of the fat to help me cook these vegetables. All right, so there's some cilantro chopped up. I'm gonna get the jalapeños down right now. Those can get in there. And that chorizo fat, you know, we're gonna cook with some kind of fat, if it's oil or chorizo fat or bacon fat, so why not use the chorizo? Let's get some green bell peppers and some red bell peppers in. Matter of fact, everybody can go in the pool except the garlic right now. There we go. This will all cook down a little bit, and then I'm gonna be adding in some short grain rice in a little bit. Let that cook almost all the way, almost to the point where we would do service, you know, like we'd be ready to go on the table. But because we're gonna be stuffing it into these roasted peppers, we're not gonna cook it quite all the way. Look at that. That's a shame to even go and stuff that in anything. Look at the colors. Smells fantastic. Okay, let me hit it with a little bit of kosher salt and a little cracked black. All right, we'll let this sit here and sweat out a bit and build some flavor. Let's go grab these peppers. Okay. Now, the peppers have been in the oven, 300 degrees, 3+, and let's take a look at them. That's exactly what we're looking for. See how they're starting to wrinkle up a little bit? We're cooking them. We don't want to cook them all the way. We don't want them to get to the point where they're overdone and they're soggy, and because then they won't hold together when we stuff them with this rice. So those look good, and I'm just going to let them cool down for a second. Let me fire up my grill. All right, there we go, on high. All right, short grain rice. A couple other things I need. Chicken stock, white wine, and there's my chicken. Forgot the basket again. All right, chicken's marinating right there. Chicken stock, white wine, there we go. Look at that. I can even throw a little bit more heat on that. I still want to be able to see the chorizo when I put it into the rice. I don't want it to completely break down. And I do want some flavor and some texture and a little bit of, not crunch out of the veggies, but I don't want to cook them down to the point where I can't notice them. Just before I put that rice in, I'm going to put the cilantro in, because the cilantro doesn't want to participate in this big heat right now, competing against all those big flavors. Let me get some rice down. I'm going to do just about a cup of rice of short grain. Mix that in. Now what's gonna happen is I'm gonna mix this for a second and just let the oils of the chorizo kind of mix around the grains of rice to let them kind of become individual so they don't kind of clump together. And just for a little bit, because what I'll add to it right now is the liquids, okay? So the liquids I've got going in is I'm gonna do a ½ cup of water. There you go. I'm gonna do a full cup of chicken stock. So that'll put me at 1.5 cups. And I am going to do a ½ cup of white wine. So it should equal out 1 cup of rice to 2 cups of liquid. There we go. All right, now I'm going to throw in my garlic. Get that mixed in real quick. And you can almost see the rice is getting a little bit of a crunch to it. Oh, that's dynamite. You know, this is almost the way that you would start a paella or start a risotto, is with this way. I don't know that it necessarily has the chorizo in the risotto, but the paella, yeah. Okay? There we go. We'll hit in some of the cilantro. And then here we go. We're going to actually deglaze it with this chicken stock, white wine, and water. Excellent. Excellent. Okay, so what I'm going to be doing, lowering the heat, popping a lid, and starting to take the tops off of these so I can get ready to stuff them. Let's take a look. And the rice came out dynamite. What I have here is some short grain rice, a little chorizo, some peppers, some red onion, some jalapeños, some garlic. I've got some chicken stock and white wine, all that to cook this. Looks great. Okay, some 2125 shrimp that have been deveined, deshelled, de-everythinged. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to chop these up and put them into this rice, and I'm going to stuff them into these peppers. Now, the idea of why didn't I put the shrimp in when I cooked the chorizo is because if you put the shrimp in, they go through that whole cooking process of the rice. Well, they're going to also get cooked inside of these poblano chilies. If they get cooked inside the poblano chilies, well, they're going to be real nice, little tough little nuggets. So what we're going to do is give them a chance to only have one cooking process if possible. Okay, so those all get chopped up like that. And then everybody in the pool.
That's good.
And what's gonna happen is they'll just take a moment in this rice, and I'll stir them up, and then you guys are gonna put them in the chilies.
We get to stuff them.
Help time.
You get to stuff them, but don't eat the rice right now because now it's got semi, uncooked shrimp in it. It'll cook when it goes inside the chili, but not right now, okay? Okay, and watch the pan, it's hot. There you go, and just fill them up to the kind of the top of the chili, okay?
Cool.
All right.
Slide that
Wash
over
this off. Are we done with those?
Yeah, what do you think?
Okay.
Look good?
Well, we've got some
much?
extra for some other peppers. Let me grab these. I'm gonna pop these in the oven. They're gonna go in for about another 15 minutes, 10 minutes, but I'll take them out at one point and put some cheese on the top and let it melt. If I put the cheese now, the cheese will melt everywhere. The peppers are done, stuffed poblanos with shrimp, rice, chorizo, peppers. See if you can just grab one like this, because I don't have a spatula for you. Oh, I gotta get into this.
That's a little warm. Yeah, this thing looks awesome.
That is outstanding.
Mine.
So, I've got the possum, I got the parta, I got the poblano. I'm out of here. Take it easy. Telling you, I have just done, look at that. What's that, a quarter cup of fresh herbs? I've got some parsley, oregano, and some dill in for this delicious, these stuffed grape leaves I'm gonna make. And it's going into some ground beef here that has some onions and garlic and some raw rice. That's right, rice that has not been cooked yet. Now I let this mixture cool down and I'm putting these herbs in cool. What I'm gonna do in a second is stuff them into these grape leaves. So I just wanna mix this around. Now, I didn't put it in and cook the herbs into it because after I stuff the grape leaves, they're gonna go in this dish and they're gonna cook in the oven. So we'll do that in a second. I just had to let this cool down and then get this all incorporated in. Before we do anything else, let's stuff some leaves because I gotta get these leaves in the oven. I'm gonna spend about an hour in there at about 375. So here's your grape leaf. Nice young leaf. It's picked, rolled up, put in a jar, put it in a can, a little bit of a hot brine poured in there. This is gonna be the inside, and we wanna watch for these stems. Take those out. Now, I learned this from a friend of mine at Vula's Cafe. Vula herself taught me this, so I know she's gonna be watching, and I hope I'm gonna do it right. Now, I'm doing it right. She gave me a good rundown. Okay, so we take a little bit of the mixture, pop it in the middle. It's about a tablespoon. Now, you can stuff this with what you want. Maybe you want to do it with some chicken or some lamb. The idea, though, is the rice isn't cooked yet. The rice is going to cook when it goes into this dish by adding either in some chicken stock, white wine, some water. So here's what we do. We fold this side over, kind of bring it towards the back. There we go. This is kind of like little miniature Havana. This is like Havana meets Greece. And take it over and look at that, about 1 inch by 2 inches. Put it down on its seam, right like that, okay? So when it starts to cook that rice inside and it starts to expand, it doesn't unravel. So you grab this bad boy. They're gonna be different sizes, so you're gonna have to just, play the game and see how much stuffing you're gonna put in. A little bit in there, maybe a touch more. And then we just keep going and going and going. All right, this is the last one. They all vary in different size, so gotta kind of eyeball how much mixture I'm gonna put in there. Okay, so there's that. Over. Takes a little bit of time. This is when you call the kids in to come help you or invite some friends over, but oh, these are so good. And wait till you taste this lemon sauce we're gonna put over the top. Okay, so that looks good. Done with these bad boys. This can come out of my way. Let me fire this pan up because I need to get these chicken breasts working. Okay, now, what am I gonna do with them? Well, I'm gonna add a little bit of water and just a touch, just to put a little bit on top, and this is gonna help cook that rice, but you never know how hard they're packed in here. So I just wanna see a little bit of water, just a little bit rise to the top. There we go. Let's get some butter in there. And we'll just lay some pats on here. Now this will add some real nice flavor and some moisture. And while I'm doing that, you know what? I might as well throw a little bit of butter in there because this I'm gonna need to get going here in a second. This will work for my chicken breasts. Okay, aluminum foil. Really wanna put a nice seal on this. So hope foil with no holes in it. And it's gonna go in the oven 375 degrees for about an hour, and that's to steam it. And that's gonna be steaming the rice and cooking that, and it's also gonna be tenderizing, making those leaves nice and tender. So this goes down. There we go. Okay, Now what I need to work on is a little bit of a slurry, cornstarch and water, to make myself a little thickener that I'm doing with some chicken stock. So, dig the cornstarch out there. Kind of a 50-50 ratio. Here we go. Okay. And so this is gonna go into this chicken stock. Now, what am I doing with this? Well, I've got this nice and hot here, and you gotta put the cornstarch mixture in there when it's hot. That'll help it react, okay? So I'm gonna put this into this chicken stock, and this is gonna start to thicken up. And what's gonna happen is I'm gonna take this, mix it with some egg whites over there. Give that a chance to thicken up. Now, this is going to make our lemon sauce. So let me let that thicken up for a second. Roll out a couple fat lemons. You should smell the flavors coming out of this. Now, I'm gonna pop this in the oven in just a second because it can't finish cooking all the way here in the pan. This is, wow, look at that. See how fast that got thick? Nice and thick. Okay, now we bring this over here. Now, we gotta add this in slowly. These are the egg whites right here, and if we add it in too fast, well, we're gonna kind of make ourselves a scrambled egg white mess. So we're gonna temper this a little bit, just with a little bit of the mixture at a time, and eventually we can add everybody in. But this is gonna be a really nice, light lemon sauce. Thick, but light, you know what I mean. Okay, and this is gonna go on top of those stuffed grape leaves. There we go. There we go. Now everybody in. Okay. And here we go. Gonna put in some lemon. Try to catch those seeds. No surprises. Well, about 1.5 should work good on this. There we go. I think fresh lemon in this, when you're making the sauce, it's called lemon sauce. I think fresh lemon's really key on this one. And there's another seed. I like those presses sometimes. You see me use those. Okay. This thing's cracking away over here. Okay. So I'm gonna mix this up, hit a little bit of salt and a little pepper into here. And what I wanna do is leave this a little bit warm, so I'm gonna pour it back into the pot. There we go. And let this kind of sit over here on the stove. Just keeping it, you know, kind of not even really a simmer, just warm. Now, what I'm gonna do is spoon a little bit of this lemon sauce over the top of these dolmas, the stuffed grape leaves. Stuffed with beef, the rice is cooked right in. That's fantastic. Here's a big toast to all my friends at Bula's and all the Greek diners. Let me crank up a little bit of heat on this pan, and this is where we're gonna get started with the onion, the garlic, and the shrimp to make the stuffing to go into these little bad boys, the Peppadews. Okay, so let me get started on these right now. This is the last two of the shrimp. Nice having them peeled and deveined, but boy, taking those tails off and cutting them up small enough so they'll go in those Peppadews. There we go. So that goes in with the onions and the garlic. All right, give that a little flip and a little saute. And I'm gonna deglaze right now. And what is this for? Well, it is gonna be for this really tasty stuffed peppadew. You know, these South African peppers, little spicy, little heat. I'm gonna stuff this shrimp mixture into it. You're gonna love it, okay? Then we're gonna hit a little bit of lemon juice in there. There we are. And just a pat of butter, well, a little more than a pat. You're gonna let that sit down in there and reduce for a second. Tell you something, I'm gonna wear this knife out. I tell you, to make great food takes a little bit of extra effort. Well, here goes some parsley, some Italian parsley, into this mixture of onions and garlic and shrimp, and they've been cooked and then deglazed with a little white wine and some lemon juice. Let's go ahead and make this vinaigrette. Now, what I'm gonna do is I said it was gonna be a futon of cabbage. I'm gonna make a nice little vinaigrette with some rice wine vinegar. There we go. A little midden, which is a Japanese cooking wine or Asian cooking wine. You can use white wine if that's what you got. There we go. And a little bit of soy. Just a little touch, and some olive oil. Just a nice, like, Asian vinaigrette. Okay. Whisk that together. My vinaigrette's done. Now I want to get some cabbage. This is just gonna be kind of simple. You know, I'm just gonna give a nice little julienne on this, kind of shred it up a little bit, put it into the mixture, and this is gonna work as my futon au cabbage for these Peppadews. Not real strong with the knife, go ahead and grab a mandolin. You can find them pretty reasonable these days. But look at that. I love this cabbage. Right in there. Okay. Toss it a bit. Now, it's gonna take a little bit of time in this marinade. It needs to soak some of it up. It's kind of like making a coleslaw. If you put the dressing on it right off the bat and then put it on a platter, it kind of runs a bit. So we want this to sit there and kind of soak some of it up in there. All right. There we go. Now it's time to stuff the Peppadews. Now, what are the Peppadews? Well, these great little peppers that come out of South Africa. They're kind of spicy, they're kind of hot, but they're kind of sweet at the same time. Find a lot of time at salad bars or olive bars. So now we take this mixture, and we'll give it a little stir. And remember, we've got the shrimp, the onions, the carrots. We deglazed it with white wine. We got some butter. We got some lemon juice. And we just put in some parsley, and we put in some green onions. So you take it like this. Pick up a little spoonful, and you almost kind of have to work together on this when you do it. But you'll take that and stuff it, and then it'll sit up in that cabbage like little gems. Huh? What do you think? Cornbread stuffed meatloaf. One pan's gonna be working for the stuffing. The other pan's gonna be working for the meatloaf. On the bacon, center cut bacon, whatever you like. This is about a pound. I'm gonna take about half of it. Give it a nice little dice. And don't go too fast on this. I've got the pan down on low because I don't want to burn the bacon. I just want to let it slowly render down because I'm gonna use some of the fat from this bacon when I actually go ahead and cook some of the other ingredients for the stuffing. There we go. A little thicker bacon than I thought. Okay. Next piece, corn muffins. Well, you know, you probably have a big thing of corn muffins that you've made. You got a couple that are sitting on the counter and haven't been used yet, or you find them sometimes when you go to the bakery that they have the day-old ones. That's the perfect muffin that you want for this. Why? Well, because these muffins are gonna be the basis of our stuffing. Kind of like the stuffing in a Thanksgiving turkey. It's gonna start to absorb those flavors, and that's gonna be really probably one of the fundamental pieces of this. So, the oven's been preheated to about 275, 250, and we'll let these dry out in here for a bit. After I pop this in the oven, we're gonna start on some of the key ingredients, and one of those is going to be this red onion and some of these jalapeños. So let me get these knocked out. All right, nice fine dice on that. Let's divide them up. Half into that onion mixture, and half over here for the cornbread. I need to fire this pan up, get that working, a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. And again, gonna take some time on this because I don't wanna see any of it brown. I wanna see it caramelize up real nice. So let me get these in. Now it's time for the garlic. And I always hunt after the big cloves, make the work a little less tedious. If I pop one of these, get the skin off of it, oh, that smells fantastic. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna need about 6 or 7 tablespoons of this. So press one out. We'll have to do the big division here. Slice it off. Finishing up these beautiful bell peppers here and into this pan. Now what I've used is I've taken this bacon and cooked it down, and I've got some of the rendered fat from that, and that's gonna help me actually cook the red bells, some of this diced jalapeno, and I need to take about 1/3 of this garlic and add this to the dish as well. There we go. And we'll let that all work together. Now on this side here, I've got some onions and some jalapeno that I've already started, and that's gonna be going into my meatloaf. I'm gonna take about another 1/3 of this garlic that I worked, and we're gonna get that in there. Now let me grab some parsley and some thyme. Okay, beautiful. Just get those off a little bit. Okay, next things that we need to get into is mincing this up so it sits into the meatloaf real nice. We don't want to have any one big piece of herb sticking out. Now, into this bowl. Here's what we're going to work with first. First, we get in the ground beef. This is an 80-20, meaning 20% fat. Get the pork. We've got 2 pounds of the ground beef, 1 pound of the pork. Now, we go in with a little bit of dry mustard. Some ketchup, about 1/4 cup of that. How about some Worcestershire sauce? Let me grab a little bit of kosher salt, a little fresh cracked black pepper. There we are. Those fresh herbs that I did. I'm gonna crack 2 eggs and mix these up. And remember, we were letting the veg, the peppers and the onions and the garlic take a little time to mellow out over here. We don't want to put them in too hot, because if they go in too hot, they can actually start to cook some of that egg and some of the meat before we even get started. You can smell those peppers and onions right off the bat. There we go, nice and light. Just want to make sure that we incorporate all these ingredients together. Excellent. It's just how it should look. Okay, next, over to grabbing out this cornbread. Working to my side, I've got the bacon, I've got the peppers, the garlic. That's gonna all come together. A little bit of salt and pepper. Okay. I've got 1 more egg here that I'm gonna add into this mixture. Now, the same principle goes again with this one. We don't want this to be all packed down and all tight. This is nice and light and airy. So we're just gonna lightly mix this. Use that spoon. Oh. All right, and that's mixed nice. Look at that. Okay, now I put them all together. How do I put them together? Well, I've got a sheet tray here lined with a little parchment paper, because we're gonna have enough moisture this is not gonna stick, but we don't want it sticking to the pan. The parchment paper will be a nice barrier. About 2/3 of the meatloaf comes out, and this is where we're gonna make our foundation. Okay, so we run it long ways like that, and we're gonna make a little canoe here. Now, it's time to start adding the stuffing. Look at that. You wouldn't even know that it's got stuffing and cornbread in it. I'm gonna pop this in the oven for about 1.5 hours at 350 degrees. We wanna check the temperature, make sure we're going in the right direction, and then also top it. So let's see where we're at. Yep, right about 140, 145, perfect. Now on top of this, we're gonna hit it with a little sliced cheddar cheese. Now we didn't do this right at the beginning because the cheese would have all melted off. So we get a little bit of this cheddar cheese draped over the side of it. This cheese is gonna be a real nice accompaniment and really feed the eyes first. Great. Back into the oven for about another 5 minutes. There we are. Oh, it smells incredible. Oh, look at that. Look at that. It smells even better than it looks. Well, probably grab a plate. Now let me see here first. I think I'm gonna go right into the meatloaf, and let's see how this is gonna look. Separate, oh my gosh. There we go, nice little center cut, of course, because I'm the one that cooked it. And take a look at that, how beautiful. There we go. My pimento cheese stuffed burger on a toasted brioche bun, stacked high with a fried heirloom tomato, homemade ranch dressing, crispy bacon, and a cabbage slaw. The key to great pimento cheese is starting off with great cheese. So I've got some cheddar here, about half and half, the white and yellow cheddar. Looks good. Now we'll get in with the pimentos. Now, you can make your own pimentos, you can buy your pimentos, you can add as many as you want. I'm gonna go with maybe a half a cup. Touch of some salt, pepper, a little bit of cayenne. Again, this is kind of where you want to go with it. Cream cheese, a little mayo, and a little Dijon. It's just gonna pulse it, bring it together, scooping this out, just getting a roll on it. Okay, about 2 inches in diameter is what we're looking for. Give it a little twist, right like that, voila, okay? Take this, lay it down in the fridge, and while I'm in the fridge, a little buttermilk. Little dill, let's get into this. Little buttermilk, some sour cream, little mayo. Now, before I bring in the spices, let me grab a little bit of sugar. Kind of a little bit of that sweet, okay? Offsetting some of the big spices that are coming in right now, okay? Let's start off with a little garlic, a little onion powder, and some smoked paprika. Let me get a touch of some salt and some black pepper. Now, a little cayenne. just a touch of heat. There we go. Okay, now this is the real kicker. This is what makes everything that you love about ranch dressing really comes from this, and that's the dill. About 3 tablespoons. There we go. Give it a little whisk. That's exactly what we're looking for. Seeing that nice, beautiful green just studded throughout that. All right, let me cover this up real quick. Okay, this goes down in the fridge. So here's the next piece. We're gonna talk about green tomatoes, fried green tomatoes. It's something you see in the South everywhere you go, but I couldn't find any green ones. So, well, I just went with a really nice, firm heirloom tomato. But nonetheless, it's gonna be fantastic. So putting it into a dredge here, first start off with a little flour with a little granulated garlic. Then went into a little buttermilk and egg with a little salt and pepper, and then some fine cornmeal here with a little salt and pepper. Set this aside, just gonna set that down, unwrap it. So what I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna make 4 burgers, but 8 patties. So the first thing I'm gonna do is cut that in half, dividing that equally into 4, okay? Now I'll just divide this one, that one. Now everybody's got kind of an equal amount, right? Here's what we do. Take the patty, not pressing it too hard. Nice patty, firm edges. Doing this ahead of time. See this little move that I'm doing here with my thumb? Check this out. So I take the patty, and then I'm bringing my thumb in to really establish the edge. So I'm not having this little flimsy edge where it's kind of just tapering off. And those are the ones when you cook them and they just kind of end up falling into the fire. Okay, here we go. So there's one done. Here we go, we'll grab some of the pimento cheese. Might be a little bit heavy. There we go. Drop it right in the center. Now, bring in the other one over, right on top, mirroring it. Gonna give it a little pinch, bring in the meat together, and then back to that same little technique that I just did, where I'm gonna come and establish the edge again. So really brought them together, really formed them together, kind of pushed it, and then straight across. It's even in the middle. Drop the burger. Now, normally when you've seen Guy's Big Bite, I'm pressing burgers. You go to Guy's Burger Joint on Carnival Cruise Line, I'm pressing burgers. You go to Guy's Vegas, I'm pressing burgers. But when it comes to a stuffed burger, we're gonna treat it nice and delicate so we don't break it open, so we don't lose all the surprise inside. Not overcrowding it. 4 would be the max I'd wanna do. Simply just a little bit of salt. And then when I flip it, I'll season the other side. Now we'll go ahead. There we go, those are the bubbles that I'm looking for. Again, don't crowd it. You're gonna drop that oil temperature. Now we're gonna talk about the buns. Nice brioche bun. Everybody's so conscious about eating all those carbs and eating the bread and so forth. I'll tell you what, when you're gonna do it right. Now I've got some roasted garlic butter here. Just gonna brush that on. Now let's talk about bacon. So here's the method. Take the bacon and just shingle it a little bit, okay? And we're gonna go from a cold pan, cold bacon, throw it in the oven, and we're gonna get those nice, uniform, evenly cooked pieces of bacon that we love that we find in restaurants. Okay, so this goes, lay it down. So here's the game plan. Take this, pop it in the oven, should be about 350. It'll give us beautiful bacon. And this, just as a little homage to my mom in North Carolina, that's where she was raised. Make a quick little slaw here, some nice vinegar. Just wilt this thinly sliced cabbage down. If I tried to sit here and cook this on the stovetop, by the time I cooked all the way through, I would have a 1/4 inch on both sides of just crunchy beef. The idea to cook it all the way through to really get that great flavor, we want to go ahead and finish it in the oven. So I finished it in the wood fire oven, finish it in your oven at 350. Either way, you're good to go. So we'll build a burger, little thin sliced onion on the bottom. Now, it's leaking a little bit of the pimento cheese. Fantastic, it shows you it's done. But this looks like mine right here. Lay that up on top. A little unripe heirloom tomatoes, that goes on top. Let's get some of the ranch dressing on top of that. Nice pieces of bacon, we'll throw that up on top. A little bit of that quick pickled slaw that I did. Look at that thing, huh? Right, let's cut into this thing and take a look at it. Nice brioche bun going right through. Tell me that's not the cover of a magazine. Here we go. There's so many textures, so much flavor. The juiciness of that burger. This is the kind of burger you want to cook at home. Now this is my last one. I'm doing these jalapeno peppers. They're gonna be going to a stuffed jalapeno pepper. Now I'm gonna do it with sausage and 3 different cheeses. The ribs are actually the hottest part of this, but I'm making like a little boat inside of this. Now check that out, okay? Now I'm using the big jalapenos, and I'm throwing them on this roasting pan, and what I'm gonna do is pop them in the oven for like 5 or 10 minutes and let a little pre-cook go on these. Because if I put the sausage and cheese mixture in there, by the time these jalapenos cook to where they're kind of nice and sweet and roasted, it's gonna be forever. I'm using a different variety of cheeses here. I got some mozzarella, of course, Italian, you got me. Little mascarpone, that's the interesting one, and a little Parmesan. If you don't have mascarpone, you can go cream cheese. But I like the mascarpone because we got some peppers here. They're gonna be kind of spicy, yeah. And the mascarpone has a little bit of sweetness to it, so the sweetness of the mascarpone will go along well. So that in a big bowl. Let me see if I'm ready here yet. I'm really about keeping that pan not quite hot enough. You see how it's not giving me a big shh? Cranking the heat all the way, but we'll just wait a second. Let's get the mozzarella down. Now the mozzarella, these cheeses will get mixed together. After I cook this sausage with some red bell pepper and some of the onion, what's gonna happen is we'll let it cool and then we'll mix it together to stuff the peppers. A little bit of Parmesan. That's good. It's about 2 to 1 on the mascarpone to everything else. Now you see a lot of times mascarpone being used in what? Yeah, tiramisu, one of my favorite. You know, I don't have a lot of desserts that I enjoy, but that's really my favorite with the lady fingers. Ah, it's great. Now you see it's a little bit hard, so I'm gonna give it a chance, move it around a bit, just bringing it out of the fridge and just give it a chance to soften up so when I mix it all together. And then I've got this sweet Italian sausage, which I've got some red bell peppers and some garlic and some onions. Cook that down. Now this is kind of about room temperature. The reason is I want to cool it down. Don't want to melt the cheese putting hot sausage in it. And I also don't want to put this hot mixture into these peppers. So I kind of mix this around a little bit. I kept all the cheeses out to kind of let them soften up so I can move them together a little bit easier. Okay. So you get this mixed together. Now grab one of these peppers. Now these peppers, like I said, I popped them in the oven for about 10 minutes to soften them up, also to make them so, you know, it's not so crunchy when you bite into it. By the time this mixture gets hot, because the cheese is gonna melt real quick, sausage is already cooked, so by the time it gets hot, won't have enough time to cook the pepper. So kind of mold it in like that, not too much cheese, don't want it flowing over and burning on the pan. Kind of a nice little mold like that. So there you go, bunch of them to fill. Little tedious to stuff all these the whole time, but well worth it, especially when you're doing something like poker night. Take a look at them. I'm just gonna put them in. Now what's gonna happen is I've got the oven at 350, but now I'm gonna turn it to broil. Keep it a little bit off of the broiler. If I put it right up underneath there, boom, I'm gonna burn. So I want this to cook it all the way through, or kind of warm it all the way through, but put a nice crust on it. So we'll hit it up to, I think medium broil should work. These jalapeno poppers, look at them. I mean, this is the way they're supposed to be done. You've got mascarpone cheese, you got mozzarella, Parmesan, done with the sweet Italian sausage, some pepper, some onion, some garlic. Still a little bit of bite to the pepper. Dynamite. Are you ready to get stuffed? I thought so. Let's get this started. Now, I've already knocked out some pancetta that I've rendered down nice and slow, and I'm gonna save this nice pancetta fat. So rendered this down, and this is gonna be the beginning of the stuffing for those off-the-hook pork chops. I'm gonna crank the heat back up and go down with some of these shallots. Now the shallots will be great. This is gonna go not low and slow, but I'm not necessarily looking to caramelize them, just get them translucent. All right, break that in. Oh, nothing better than cooking that sage up. Little fried sage, some brown butter, some raviolis. There we go, and now in with the creminis. And I got a bunch of them, but they're really gonna, you know, they really shrink down. I'm gonna start off with about 5 cups of water. And of course, a little salt and pepper. Nice little amount of dry sage. Now, why the dry sage? Kind of concentrated. And same thing with the granulated garlic. Just put the garlic flavor in there. And let's get a little bit of the Dijon. About 3 tablespoons of that. Give that a little slosh. Now let's talk about double cut pork chops. Going with this sharp paring knife. Nice and easy, taking it all the way back to the bone. But you see how I'm not cutting it all the way open? I'm just creating that little opening right there. So we get inside. Great. Okay, so the pockets are in. Let me get that there. Seal it, press the air out. Always we keep it in a dish so it's not gonna leak in the fridge. Wrap that up. Put that to the side. Now, these pork chops can brine, I mean, you can go anywhere 8 to 12 hours. The softer the meat, the quicker it brines. Now, here's what's gonna happen. I grab this great stuffing mixture, lay it out, add some pancetta, drop in the fontina. That's gonna be the mixture that's coming together for the pork chops. And here we go, stuffing them and just throwing a bamboo skewer on there to make sure that they stay closed because we're gonna be dredging them here in just a second. So in with that skewer, over the top, and bring it around so it comes back through, and that really ensures that all of that delicious stuffing stays inside that pocket. Put a little bit of flour in, panko, Japanese breadcrumbs, super dry, not seasoned, and Italian seasoning. Mix that around, and a few eggs. Really help that coating stick to it. Look at that monster, okay? Feed a family of 4. There we go, very liberal with that. Into the breadcrumb mixture. Over in. See, we got some sizzle. Perfect, okay? Coated in the panko, stuffed with the cremini mushrooms, a little bit of pancetta in there as well. Cooked in some bacon fat. Turn this down a bit. Let me get this into the oven. 350, maybe 15 minutes. Look at those monster chops. Stuffed with porcinis. Oh, these things look awesome. And the panko breadcrumbs, little Italian seasoning.